Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt. Today is November 29th, technically meaning that today is the second to last day of NaNoWriMo, but sometime last week I decided that I wanted to stop NaNoWriMo, or at least the project that I was working on for Nano, and switch back over to my high fantasy project that I call Project DE, because that's the project that feels like it's calling my name right now. Also last week, I took some time to write down some goals. So I did 3 days, 3-month, and 3-year goals. And as a part of the 3-month goals, I wanted to get a book ready for publication. So switching back over to Project DE is one of the first steps that I'm taking in doing that. I was kind of assuming that I would go back to draft 5 of Project DE because that's kind of where I left off before I left my last job. But now after some thinking and wanting to start from chapter technically 2 because I've already done chapter 1 and approach that with a new editing process, I think I might as well just call it draft 6. So this video is going to be how I'm attacking draft 6 of my high fantasy project DE in an attempt to get it almost completely perfect to start publishing, or as perfect as I can get it in draft 6, and then maybe hopefully do one final look through, aka draft 7-ish or something, and then get that ready to be sent out by the end of February. That was the goal that I set as a part of my 3-month goals in a previous video. And yes, that is kind of a daunting task, or at least it feels a little daunting right now. But probably a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I completely overhauled the chapter 1 of Project DE. Not completely overhauled, I very finely edited that for a creative writing class application, and in that process, I learned how I need to approach the rest of DE in order for me to get it ready to be published. I also realized how much time it's going to take me, but I enjoyed the process so much, and it really felt like I had a lot of control over the final outcome, or like the final outcome, aka what the chapter became from what it began as. It just made me feel like this is how I need to approach the editing process for the rest of the book. So what that means, and how I approached editing chapter 1 again, was that I knew that it needed to be nearly perfect for this application, and I'm very happy with the final product. However, what that meant for me was over the span of 2 days, yes, I was assuming that it was going to be longer than that, but I procrastinated until the application was pretty much due. I spent 2 whole days working on my personal statement and chapter 1 for this application. And what I learned is that that's the kind of attention that each chapter needs. So the way that I want to approach editing draft 6, that's insane, of Project DE is giving myself roughly 1 day to do a chapter or 2. That might not seem like a lot. Some days it won't be that much. Some days it might be a lot more. But basically, I want to read through the chapter. I want to make the notes that I want to change about it. I want to go through. I want to make those changes. I want to read through it again. I want to edit that again. And I just kind of want to do that a couple times until I'm really happy with the chapter and what content is in the chapter, what foreshadowing it has for the future, what promise, progress, and payoff that chapter has, making sure that my characters are consistent, making sure that the plot is consistent, making sure that that chapter can stand on its own as well as a part of the larger project. So we're going to be starting on chapter 2 today. When I edited chapter 1, I think I went over it 5 or 6 times before I sent it to other people to look over, and then I went through it a couple more times. So I put a lot of attention and detail into that chapter, and I'm very happy with how that one came out. So today we are going to be attacking chapter 2 and just seeing where we get with this. So if you go on to enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a big thumbs up, because that really supports my channel by telling YouTube algorithm that you liked my video and that somebody else might too. Also, if you like this video and you want to see more like it, make sure you subscribe as I begin and continue to work on draft 6 of Project DE in an attempt to publish it, hopefully, or at least start the publication process next year. All right, without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, just kidding. It is now December 7th. I started on chapter 2 today while I was flying from Utah to Minnesota. And I wanted to do that because I always rate really well on planes. And let me tell you, I got a good chunk of time in. I think I did like an hour and 20 minutes of uninterrupted, just writing, editing, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely editing. And I have not yet finished chapter 2. I am sitting at about a total of like an hour and 35 minutes for today or something like that. I am currently on page 4 of 6 of chapter 2 and have so far made 114 revisions to this chapter alone, and I'm only on the first read through it, and I have just been going and like basically reading every line, every paragraph like multiple times, and then as soon as I'll like change something, I'll go back up several paragraphs and then I'll just read down through them again, and it has been an experience. But I feel really, really good with the editing that I did today. I'm looking forward to hopefully finishing chapter 2 tomorrow. We'll see. But I do have very important things to do tomorrow, especially tomorrow evening. So we're just gonna kind of see what gets done, and there will be some fun clips in and amongst those things. So when I said that I was gonna be busy today, this is what I meant. What's that? Do you see the camera? Finalized my first pass of chapter 2. So far I've spent about 20 minutes on this tonight, and from how this chapter stood in chapter 5, I'm now 184 words fewer, and I ended up making 197 revisions to a 2,400 word chapter. I am going to hide all of my markup. There we go, just changed that over so now I can read back through it for another pass and make any other changes and then see how I'm feeling about this chapter and whether or not it needs a third one or if I'm happy with 2. So now I'm gonna do that. I just finished chapter 2. And it was my second pass of chapter 2. I got it down another 56 words, which means that that is now 240 words shorter than it was in draft 5. And really what I was just doing was cutting out a lot of the filler that I don't realize that I'm writing, and that I can only notice by rereading portions a lot of times to be like, oh wait, that's not necessary there. And then fixing word choice and sentence flow and all of that fun stuff. So at the end of this second round, I ended with 268 revisions total, which means that I added probably about 71 technically in this second pass. So with that, I think that chapter 2 is done. Today is December 9th, I believe. We're still puppy sitting. He's right there, the angel and the menace. And my goal is to work on chapter 3 today. I do think I'm gonna read over chapter 2 one more time. Just make sure that I'm happy with it as it stands and then get started on chapter 3.
Good sit. That was so good. Oh. Okay. He's try. Come here, buddy. You sit. Good sit. That was so good. Oh, sorry. Oh, and we're back to the hair. It's hard to train a puppy. Oh, and now we're chewing fingers. Ow! Oh, sharp teeth. Come here. Where's your belly stick? Oh. Hi. Hi.
Okay, so yesterday, last night, and then today, I was staying at my brother's house in Minnesota, puppy sitting their brand new golden retriever puppy. And now I'm back at my parents' house, and I'm hoping that we're gonna get to see the puppy again tomorrow night, but I need to double check with them to make sure that we can do that. But in other writing news, which may or may not be more important, it's definitely not more important than a puppy, I started working on chapter 3 today, which is a little over 4,000 words to start out with. And so far, this chapter has the most deletions out of any of the 3 chapters so far, which is good because draft 5 ended somewhere around like 133,000 words. And I know that a debut fantasy novel tends to be somewhere between like 80 and 100. So I need to be cutting words out, which is good because I am doing that. I'm hoping that because I'm not going to be distracted by the puppy tomorrow, at least for the majority of tomorrow, that I will get some more work done on chapter 3 and potentially even finalize it, finish it up, and then can move on to chapter 4 the next day. Or at least that's the hope. I do really like how I'm attacking draft 6 just because I don't get as overwhelmed as easily with the sheer size of the project, just because I can focus on like, oh, hey, like I'm working on 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 words in this one chapter. This is everything that I need to focus on. And I just keep working on it until I'm done. And then when I'm done, I can move on to the next chapter. And so it's been very helpful in breaking it down into like bite-sized pieces for me to tackle. I know that I'm on chapter 3, but so far it feels really good. Today I spent a while still working on chapter 3. I ended up calling it at 2 a.m. because I had not finished chapter 3 yet, and I do fly back to Utah tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to bed at somewhat of a responsible time just so that I can get up for my flight tomorrow. And I kind of have to keep reminding myself that even though I'm kind of beating myself up over the fact that it's been 2 days and I haven't finished this chapter yet, this chapter is twice as long as the previous 2 chapters have been, as in this one started out around 4,200 words, and now having finished 5 of the 9 pages, I have taken out 200 words total so far, so now I'm sitting at just around 4,000 words. And I'm sure that's going to continue to drop because I'm noticing that this chapter specifically has a lot of filler in it, and so it's been a very tedious process in reading, rereading, and then rereading again to make sure that all of the filler is taken out so that it gets to a readability point where it's not just fluff. But considering that I will be on an airplane tomorrow, I do think that that's going to help with undistracted and undistractable time, or at least massively help with that, because I've had such a strong urge, especially today, to check my phone, and it's been really, really annoying. Even when I would try to hide my phone like out of my line of sight and everything, like I was still having the urge to like check my phone and like, oh, like that would be easy, that would be fun, whatever. And I think it's because editing a book is really hard, and I think my brain is trying to pull me out of that discomfort as fast as possible. My brain is trying to trick me into wanting that instant gratification from checking social media or like, you know, scrolling through like short form videos or something, instead of sitting down and putting in the work to really improve my project, which is a fascinating thing to catch when you realize what's happening. But I am really happy with the progress that I've made so far in this chapter and so far in this book. I am going a little bit slower than I would theoretically like to be, but I'm still doing an okay enough pace for where I'm at. And I also hope that after these first couple days, especially because I've been puppy sitting and everything, that I will fall into a little bit more of a consistent pace in editing this and trying to stick more to that 1 chapter a day, especially if the chapter's a little bit shorter. Again, I would love to get to a point where I could do like 2 chapters in a day, hopefully at some point. We'll just kind of see what my schedule ends up holding. I know that that's kind of tricky with Christmas and New Year's coming up, but gonna do my best regardless. But I was talking to one of my friends tonight, and they very gently reminded me that this is either the last draft or the second to last draft, and so pretty much as close to done as I can possibly get it right now before I start to query, which means that it is very much worth all of the time and effort that it takes at this stage. Which is a crazy thought, and I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, but I don't have to be. All I have to do is work on the 1 chapter in that separate document each and every day until I'm done, which again, making things bite-sized like that is helping significantly with me not getting crazy overwhelmed overwhelmed by the size of the project. I'm still not totally sure how I'm going to be able to cut it down to under 100,000 words though, because it's a beast. I'm now back in Utah. It is now 2 a.m. because I watched a couple episodes of a TV show and then I got stuck in a rabbit hole looking at flights and Airbnbs and just having a great time with that, which was really fun. But now it's 1:59 in the morning and I still want to finish chapter 3. However, on the plane, I was able to finish the first round of edits on chapter 3, and I got it from 4,213 words down to 3,916 words, which is about 300 words less, and 243 revisions after the first round of edits. I am now halfway through my second round of edits on chapter 3, and I'm hoping to finish that up and then go to bed. And I think I've already said this, but my second and potentially more rounds of edits on various chapters is more of just like a fine-tooth comb, going over my edits, making sure that my edits didn't mess up something else in the chapter, and kind of just trying to make sure that everything is congruent, everything reads better, the pacing's better, characters are more consistent, etc., whatever I've been changing. With this chapter, I have been cutting out a lot, which has been amazing. And so really what I'm doing right now is just making sure that it still reads pretty decently, considering that I've cut out 300 words out of a 4,000 word chapter. I really love the line that this chapter ends on. It is now 2:29, so in 30 minutes I was able to finish the second pass of chapter 3, and I think now it's sitting at a very solid point. I'm very happy with where it's sitting. After the second pass, those 4,213 words that the chapter was in draft 5 is now sitting at 3,829 words, which means that I've successfully removed 384 words from this chapter, which is awesome. After the first pass, I had 243 revisions, and after this second pass, I am at 333 revisions for this 3,800 word chapter. That's how intensive this process has been. There are just so many changes happening. That does make me feel better about why it's taking so long though, especially because, I mean, chapter 3 took me 3 days. Chapter 3, 3 days, and ended with 333 revisions. I took some time to look up the 333 angel number just for fun, and apparently it is associated with creativity and intuition. Kind of love that. This is not a sustainable pace. Well, honestly, it might be the most sustainable pace, but it's not the pace that I want to stay at because I want to be doing this draft a lot faster. Again, like ideally like a chapter a day, but now that I'm back in Utah, at least for like a week and a half. Over the last 3 months, I have been traveling a lot. This next trip is the last trip on the books. It's for Christmas, and then I'm planning on at least for the entirety of January staying in Utah, if not into February. Because as much as I've enjoyed all my traveling, I am ready to just be in my apartment. I am hoping that I can devote a lot of time to this, and I think that I can as long as I structure my days correctly. But I will be vlogging, so I'm going to try and hold myself accountable with that, because that's a big part of why I make YouTube videos, is to hold myself accountable to the writing, because if I'm not writing, I don't have anything to make videos about. Kind of a great system I have going on here. All right, so now that I am done with this chapter, I'm going to copy and paste it over into draft 6, or the draft 6 document. That's not what I wanted to do though. Wow, I fully don't know how to copy and paste this so that it keeps all of my tracked changes into draft 6. Okay, that might be a problem for tomorrow, Sarah, because it is 2:34. Anyways, here was the first couple chapters of working on draft 6 and kind of how I'm approaching the editing process for draft 6. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a big thumbs up, because that really supports my channel by telling the YouTube algorithm that you liked my video and that somebody else might too. If you liked this video and you want to follow along my process as I continue to work on draft 6 in the hope and with the goal of getting my book ready to be published here in a couple months, hopefully, or at least start the publication process, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I will be keeping you guys updated with how that process is going, with lots of vlogs and update videos and all that fun stuff. So that being said, it is very much time for me to go to bed. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Also, puppy sitting was so much fun.